There are just 8 teams left out of 32 in the National Football League as we enter into the divisional round of the National Football League playoffs for 2025 season. Ed Cleese joins me today as we make our bold predictions and let you know what we think is going to happen this weekend. Ed, welcome back to the Pigpen.
Hey Darren, I would say, how are you doing? But I feel like I already know the answer.
I'm a little melancholy. I'm a little lost right now. We here in Western Pennsylvania, we took a couple lumps this week, and it's something that we're used to playoff lumps, but not losing a coach.
Yeah, yeah, it's a double whammy, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But we've talked many times about Madden and Summerall, and as a young kid growing up, Madden was sort of my football Yoda, and it's the first time I'd ever heard the word finality. And at the playoffs, they at the end of a playoff game, the CBS and then Fox cameras would always show the losing sideline. Usually the guys sitting on the bench, kind of like, head in hands, looking forlorn. And Madden would talk about the empty feeling of being eliminated in that final game and not making it, and the finality of it, and how it all sets in, and how at the time that, as a fan, this routine you've been in all year and these dreams you've had of your team, going and keeping going and advancing are over. But then also for the players and coaches, of course, a lot of them, might be their last game ever, might be time to retire, might be the last time this guy, and even if they're not going to retire, you never know. Are you going to? I remember when Washington got eliminated last year in the NFC Championship game. It was Bobby Wagner and Zach Ertz in the locker room, and they looked so devastated. And I think it was in large part because they're probably both thinking that was my last shot. And they both came back to play this year, and maybe they'll both come back to play another year, but that may have been their last shot, their true last shot. So we see that all over the league this week. You're feeling it, and that's something that's always stuck out to me was that finality of the playoffs via John Madden's analysis.
Yeah, I think nobody experienced any worse than John Madden in his coaching
Yes,
career.
right,
That
for
really had to
sure.
rip your heart out to be on that side of the immaculate reception
So
game.
he spoke from experience. Yep.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, let's why don't we get into the games here? Let's talk a little bit about what happened last week and maybe give our results.
Yeah, we'll just go through our results, and then as we're going, we'll just kind of go in the order that the games were played. And there's a lot to talk about. The other thing that I really like about this time of the year is, when we do our weekly pods during the season, there's just too much going on to spend too much time in the minutia of any one game or moment. But that's what I love about the playoffs is that we can get into this. Boy, we're going to talk about this 30-second stanza that may have decided the game or this one decision or this one play. So I think we're going to get into a lot of that. So we'll start right with the first game, and we both are going to get 1 point for the first game, and by the skin of our teeth for both of us,
Mm.
really, because not only so I had the Rams winning by 13 or more points, and you had the Rams winning and also winning the turnover ratio by +2. Neither of us got our bonus there, and we barely got the win. And I will say um, was very that was actually the most surprising thing to me of the whole weekend was how close the Rams came to being eliminated. That was,
Mm.
whenever you have a 10.5 point spread, that there's always a chance that somebody's going to keep it close. That's not, but like they really truly almost lost that game. And that really stuck out, especially after getting ahead 14-0.
Well, I can think of another game. Maybe it was more shocking and close than that, not the game I was involved in, but another game where we'll talk about in a second here. But yeah, I thought that was an excellent played game. I think the Panthers were a lot more prepared for the playoff game than I gave them credit for last week. They played their tails off, and but I think the better team ended up winning the game. I think they got wise right when they had to and pulled it out.
Yeah, and I was continuing to root for the Rams even after all of my. For example, if you bet on the Rams, you had lost your bet long before that game was over, so there was no saving it. But I was still rooting for the Rams at the end of the game. It's some of the I know we all like if you're a basketball fan, the NCAA tournament, how it's always fun to root for the 15 seed, the 16 seed in the first round, but then there's always the second round, right? Then it's not so fun when we watch St. Mary's or Hofstra or whoever play again, right? And so I was thinking, you know what, this would be a really amazing story for the Panthers, but do I really want to watch them next week again when the glass slipper often doesn't fit nearly as nicely? So it was nice, like you said. I think the better team won the game. Um, and I'll be honest, I don't necessarily think it's a red flag situation for the Rams, really. I think it's just sometimes games unravel a little bit. You find yourself in a dogfight and you got to find a way to win it. And it doesn't necessarily carry over to the next week.
Yeah, that's very true. But I think the Rams are well coached. I think they're pretty solid with talented players on both sides of the ball, and hey, who knows, they can go long ways in these playoffs.
Yeah, so they survived. I think it sets up better matchups for the second round, the divisional round. But yeah, we both barely survived by getting a point in that game. Moving on to the Saturday night game, boy, I have a lot to say about this. You kind of alluded to it as well. I've got some very specific things to talk about, but first we'll go over the points. I got zero because I picked the Packers to win, which they should have, and I had him winning on a walk-off field goal, which could have happened. But
Well,
I got
they
zero.
walked off
They
part. You're
they
right.
walked off all right. And then you had the Bears winning, so you do get the 1 point. Your bold prediction was that Adunze would catch 2 touchdowns. He did not. He did not catch one.
I don't even know if he caught two passes.
Yeah, not really. He was not a factor in the game. So you're going to be ahead of me. You get 1 point. I get zero there. But what I really want to, there's so much to unpack in that game. No pun intended. Is I want to fast. So we can obviously, when you're up 21-3, you have to win that game. I'd also say when you're up 27-16 with 6 minutes left, you have to win that game. But I'm going to fast forward all the way to where they had the 3 point lead and they got a couple crucial first downs. There's about 3 minutes left in the game, and they are nearing the Bears' red zone. They run a play on first down. I believe the Bears call timeout. I can't remember exactly. On second down and 10. So you got to picture this. The Packers are up by 3. First downs in this situation are almost as valuable as scoring because you hold the ball, you force timeouts, you bleed the clock, you're winning the game. So if you can do that like twice, you win the game, right? And you avoid having to give the ball back at all, or you slowly move it down. So on second down, they take a shot at the end zone, which you could say, hey, they were going for the kill shot. They just didn't want to take any chances. But that's obviously a very low percentage play. All right, so it's incomplete. So now, I'm sorry. Yes, so after second down, so then the Packers call a timeout. Now, the clock is stopped, so that's not a problem. But they use one of their timeouts because they want to get their 3rd and 10 play right. Then what happens after the timeout, Darren? Delay of game.
Hmm.
After the timeout, they go 5 yards back. So
You
now
can never
you've
let
burnt.
that happen. That's bad.
So now you've thrown an incomplete pass on a low percentage play. You've called a timeout, and you've suffered a delay of game penalty, all but before the next snap of the ball. And then on third down, they do it again. They go to the end zone again, a very low percentage pass to Dobbs in the corner of the end zone that's nowhere close to being complete. And it's so, again, you don't force the Bears to call a timeout. You stop the clock, and you don't gain any yardage for your kicker, who then misses by a few yards. That is malpractice. So now instead of being up 6 at the worst, you're up 3. We all see how it goes. The Packers get the ball back with plenty of time. If what a difference it would have made if they had that timeout, right?
Hmm.
So that is just beyond all of the things in that game that you can say, what were the Packers doing? And there was plenty before that. And we can talk about the Bears here in a minute because I don't want to just totally dismiss them. But that ending stanza by the Packers is, I am not reactionary, Darren. I am not a fire the coach guy. I'm a big picture person. In that moment, I was thinking, they should fire LaFleur because I don't know how you can't, come on. 2 years ago they blew the playoff game badly in San Francisco. Badly, they had that game won. They blew it. Last year they kind of a no show in the Eagles playoff loss, and then this year they completely fall apart against their rivals and embarrass themselves. So I don't know where you go from here. Like that was so bad.
Yeah, I think there's like an NFL culture, and I think sort of Dan Campbell of Detroit sort of epitomizes it, where you have these gambler coaches. Maybe it started with Ron Rivera when he coached, gambling Ron, they called him. And they just take some really risky chances instead of using common sense, especially at the end of halves, especially end of the game in a playoff game, like you said. You know, why not on second and third down? Throw a safe pass, like a screen pass or something you can complete with a high percentage that the clock, you're inbounds, let the clock run. You still have great field position for your kicker to kick a field goal and, just eat the clock. You're right. You're battling the clock at that point. You're winning this game. And you got to have that kill mentality, but you can't take two kill shots in the hopes that somebody's going to catch one in the back of the end zone when it's not like the Bears secondary is like paper mache. They have some decent defensive backs there that can handle some of that. And I was just as surprised as you were. But again, because of our pick, I was rooting for the Bears. So I was kind of happy about it. But yeah,
Yeah,
it was foolish.
as to your point, there's a very fine line, maybe it's not that fine, between aggressive and reckless. And what frustrated me as, ultimately I'm a neutral observer in the game. I don't really care. But what frustrates me just as a fan of watching the game was I felt that the Packers really bailed out Ben Johnson because now Ben Johnson deserves a ton of credit for where the Bears are this year. I don't take anything away from him at all. He looks like he's going to be a really good hire, but he coached a terrible game. He was terrible. That team, that offense was bad for the most part of the game. They were not very well prepared. And his fourth down, there's no reason to, it was just stupid. Okay. Going for it on 4th and 5 in the first half from your own
Hmm.
32 is actually just stupid. Okay.
Hmm.
It's just a dumb thing to do. It's not aggressive. It's not tough. It's not playing the analytics. It's just dumb. Okay. We can sometimes just say something is dumb. And so he was kind of coaching a dumb game. And somehow the Packers like outdumbed him in the end. Now, for all the Bears fans to say, are you going to say anything nice about us? I mean, wow, Caleb. I mean, again, I think it's a mark of a very good player to perhaps not play a great game, but end in a great way. We've seen that with some great quarterbacks over the years, and he was just stellar down the stretch. Now, I think that fourth down pass, while an absolute laser, was also maybe pretty low. I don't think that's how they drew it up, Darren. I don't think it was like, see that pile of 8 guys right there?
Yeah.
Thread the needle in between all of them and hit them right between the numbers. I mean, so which is what he did. So I mean, fantastic job there. And then he was very cool in the final drive. Those are big moments for quarterbacks. And he outplayed Love at the very end. So hats off to him. But that was two coaches to me that were just bumbling and stumbling all over the field all night, which created a very compelling and interesting game. But I kind of almost didn't want to give credit to anybody because it felt reckless.
Yeah, I mean, there was some recklessness to it, but I agree with you. I think there's something, and we sort of alluded to it all season long. We had many conversations about the Bears and Caleb and his development, and something happened mid-season that took him from being a newer quarterback, a second-year quarterback, to being an all-out gunslinger. And the dude's like, when he has to take chances, he starts taking chances now. I think he was a little bit reluctant when he was earlier on in his career because maybe last year throwing some picks that maybe he knew he shouldn't have threw some passes, but now he knows when the game's on the line and he has the arm to do it. He's gonna, like Brett Favre or John Elway balls into holes that nobody should be attempting to throw a pass to. And I think that fourth down play was an example of that. And to his credit, you got to take the chance to get the glory. And I think he does it, and knows how to push that envelope, and he's going to be a pretty good pick for them that they did 2 years ago as the number one pick.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you're a Bears fan right now, you're just doing cartwheels for a franchise that has been, quarterback poor for, well, really
Probably,
forever.
yeah,
Yeah,
probably since Sammy Baugh,
yeah. I
you
mean,
know,
really forever.
or I'm sorry, Sid
Yeah, Sammy Ball was the
Luckman.
skin. Don't take him
Yeah,
away from us.
Sid Luckman
Yeah,
was,
so
yeah.
with very very brief pockets of Jim McMahon, Jay Cutler having moderate success here and there, but yeah, they've been quarterback needy for like you were saying like 75 years, and to see a second year guy make these strides coupled with the team success that they're having, that it doesn't really matter right now if some of it is luck or just things really falling their way, which it has. It's okay to two things can be true at once, right? Caleb can be very impressive and playing very well, and the Bears can be very lucky at the same time. There was some that happened to my team last year. Jaden Daniels was phenomenal, and we got lucky. Things went our way. So that happens sometimes.
I think the Patriots lived on that for 20 years. They had a very good quarterback, some very good players, and they had a lot of luck. A lot of good
Well,
things
I
happened to
will
them.
say, I will say this: time erases luck for me. So right now, the Bear, like Washington last year, was in a very tight little window where everything was going well. The Bears are this year. If the Bears do this again next year and win wild games, and then 2 years from now they win wild games, at that point I'll just say, well, this is who they are. This is just they have a big enough sample now to where we can say that's why I never really bought into the Brady luck part, because it's like, well, he's been doing this for 20 years, so at some point we just say no, he just knows how to win all the time. So if 17 years from now, Darren, you and I are doing a pod and we're talking about Caleb Williams pulling off another miracle in the playoffs, I will not call it luck.
Well, the instance I'm not talking with Brady having his hands on the ball. I'm talking about uh, Russell Wilson throwing an interception at the goal line when you have Marshawn Lynch. I'm
Yeah.
talking about a Steelers call, Jesse James going over the goal line, and they call it a no, not a touchdown. That's what I'm talking about. That's
The,
the kind of
the
luck
the
that.
Edelman catch in the Super Bowl against the
Yeah,
Falcons.
right. That
Yeah,
kind of
the
stuff.
the
Yeah,
tuck rule. Yeah, yeah. But I'll say if you put yourself in position every year,
true.
then what is it? Luck favors the prepared. Whatever the I can't even think of this. Luck favors the well prepared, or something like that. I'm a football guy, not a literary guy. So there's some of that. But so if the Bears can get here again and again and again, then I will stop using the word luck. Right now, it does feel a little Lucky Charms ish to me.
I think they're a pretty solid team, and I think they've got a good coach now, and that's the biggest difference this year from last year to this year for the
And
Bears
we've seen it
is
every
Ben
year,
Johnson.
all over the league forever. Quarterback
Right,
coach combo wins.
right, right.
And yep, we'll see. Well, you ready to move on to the
Certainly,
Sunday games? Okay.
yeah.
So we wound up going 3 for 3 as viewers with that Bills Jags game,
Mm.
which of all the games, that one wound up feeling to me like the most well played. That felt like that felt like a heavyweight game to me. And I liked how it had a mode.
I think it felt like that for Josh Allen too, like a
Yeah,
heavyweight fight.
he's just on.
Yeah,
We'll talk about it. He's incredible. He's the best quarterback in the NFL. And what I liked about that game is it kind of had it ascended, right. They were kind of feeling each other out a little bit. It was it's like the second quarter was a little bit better than the first quarter, and then the third quarter was a little bit better than the second quarter, and then the fourth quarter exploded. And it was really, so it was like this gradual build in that game where you kind of feel it coming. There was a couple moments early in the game where the Jags may have been able to, that fourth down that Lawrence didn't get after the fumbled kickoff. So it's 7-3 Jacksonville. They kick off, Buffalo fumbles, and after that possession, it's still 7-3 because they go for it on fourth. They don't get it. So it doesn't cost the Bills any points. It's a totally different game if it's 14-3 or even 10-3. It kind of gave Allen took a little while to get going, right? But the score stayed tight. So by the time he got going, they were in position to win it. And so we're both going to get 1 point for that game because we both took the Bills. You had both quarterbacks passing and running for a touchdown. You came close because Allen did both, and Lawrence threw one, but he didn't run one. So one for you.
He should have ran one.
Yeah, probably. And then I came close because I had 4 touchdowns for Allen. He wound up with 3. So we both get the one point there. But yeah, Josh Allen is the best quarterback in the NFL. I don't really have any hesitation in saying that at this point. And I will also say this: football, ultimately, sports, they are supposed to be what? They're supposed to be fun. And Josh Allen is so fun. He's one of my favorite non-Washington players to ever watch. He plays the game with just this unparalleled toughness. He's so physical. He seems like a great dude, and he's a great leader, and he's a total winner. And people might say, well, he hasn't even gone to the Super Bowl yet.
He's got a hot wife.
Yeah, so he's winning all over the
Yeah,
place,
he's winning like a life even.
just like me, Darren.
Yeah,
See,
right. There you
my
go.
wife listens. So he's just phenomenal. He's just special, and I find myself now. My mom's family is all from Buffalo, and I've always said this: I don't have a second favorite team. Okay, I have a one favorite team, and then I have varying levels of disdain for the other 31 teams. Okay, I can come up with a reason to hate all of them.
We've never got that sense from you that you have just
You've
disdain
never
for
gotten
other
that.
teams.
You've never
Yeah,
the
yeah.
bitterness
I've
and
never seen the bitterness in you, Ed. I'm sorry.
the bitterness and the anger and the frustration doesn't come through on the
I've
pod.
never seen the saltiness. I've never seen that.
Nice. But I do have a little bit of a warm spot in my heart for Buffalo. Again, my mom's family's from there. She roots for the Bills. And the Bills, and my mom made this point when I was talking to her this week, that the Bills are very much like the Oklahoma City Thunder here, which we're huge fans of, season ticket holders, Thunder Up, in that there's a just real special connection between the team and the city. And I'm sure you saw some of the highlights from their last game at Highmark, which was Rich Stadium. The Bills mean so much to Buffalo, and Josh Allen, I think, understands that, and I think he wants it so bad for the city, and they love him. And I can't help but root for him too, because it's you want to see that eventually, come to fruition and at least get to the Super Bowl. And he's got a tough road because he's gonna have to do it on the road twice more if they're going to do it. But that was a great win. I don't take anything away from the Jags. They sort of just got Josh Allen. Um, I do think you can say he definitely outplayed Lawrence. Lawrence was, I would say, okay in the game. He wasn't great. He wasn't bad, but he just wasn't as good as Allen. And that was probably the difference. The better team did not win that game. The better quarterback did.
Yeah, and especially he made more trips to the blue tent than you know Girl Scouts at summer campouts. It's
Yeah,
it's just I
it
mean, the
was
guy has a looks like maybe a concussion. He has a finger injury after hitting a helmet of the pass, and his leg is like twisted into some ungodly way that, probably you or I would be hospitalized. And he comes
he
out and is throwing touchdown passes.
he's
Unbelievable.
so impressive, and that was a really really fun game to watch. And then the fourth game of the week, I thought was probably the fourth best game of the week. Kind of went in order almost. And this game was ugly. This was the Eagles 49ers game, which we're also both going to get a point. We both had the upset there, so we both pulled the upset with 1 point with the Niners. You had Purdy with a 100 QB rating. He was much lower than that because the interceptions killed him. But
Hmm.
we can talk about it. He actually, I thought, played pretty well. And then I had McCaffrey going for 125 combined. He went up at 114. So it came up a little short there. So we both got 1 point there, but we both got the call right. And I think maybe we both deserve a little bit of a bow there because I think what we both saw, you can confirm this, is that just all year long, the Eagles never gave reason to think that they were going to get any better. They every game the Eagles played all year, with the exception of a couple of blowouts or easy wins over bad teams, was the same. Every game was the same. Generally marked by very good to great defense and puzzling, confusing, inconsistent, and ultimately not good enough offense. And that was the same deal again on Sunday, where they had plenty of chances to either put that game away or take charge of it. The offense just wouldn't do it. And the 49ers were able to make that final drive. And then when the Eagles got the ball back, I'm thinking, they need a touchdown here. I don't think they're going to get it because they didn't give us any reason all year to think that when the offense really needed to come through that they would.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference in that game, and I mean, you started hitting on it early with the Eagles. I bought into it. I drank your Kool-Aid and started believing at the end, and including last week. I don't think they play as a team. I think they lost a little bit of that magic. I mean, when you have your star receivers dropped what two really crucial passes, I think he dropped a
Yes.
third one that would have really helped. And then he's arguing with the coach who's trying to coach the team to win. I mean, what the heck is going on in Philadelphia on the sideline? Where you look at the 49ers, they look like a well-oiled machine. They were prepared. They have lost probably more star players than anybody, including in game and losing Kittle, early in that game. And it didn't look like they missed a beat. Because they were prepared. They had a game plan. They played as a unit on all three phases, and they looked really good in beating the Eagles.
Yeah, and I think if you asked 32 GMs or 31, exclude the teams that were asked that were asking, if you'd rather have Sirianni or Shanahan as head coach, I think 30 are saying Shanahan. I don't
Hmm.
think there's any doubt that despite some of the success Sirianni's had, and he probably deserves a little more credit than I give him and some other people give him, but he's not like that special kind of coach that Shanahan is. If the Niners were healthy, even close, then I would really strongly consider them as the favorite to win the Super Bowl. Their biggest drawback right now is they're just missing so many guys still, and then they just won a road playoff game. They're just a smart, tough team. They max out. And yeah, that was just the Eagles, like you said, they just weren't. It's hard to repeat. They were way better last year. They were way more consistent last year, um, and they do it. They've got a quarterback question because you know what did I say earlier? Two things can be true at once. Jalen Hurts was the Super Bowl MVP, and he deserved it, and he will be the Super Bowl MVP and a two-time Super Bowl participant for the rest of his life, and he should be very proud of that. And he's a solid NFL quarterback. But the other thing that I think is true is that he's just not in that class of the other quarterbacks in the league, like Josh Allen. I mean, he's not even on the same
But
planet.
but do you really think he had that bad of a game? I
I
mean,
think
he, I mean,
it's
think
more
about
of the seat.
those passes that he threw that Brown dropped. I mean, those were crucial, especially the one in the fourth quarter. Those were very catchable passes.
The
There's
Brown
no
pass
reason.
for sure. And like you said, they don't play a lot of complementary football. So it's almost like Brown messes this up and then maybe Hurts misses him on the next one. So if they were just sync up on one of them, it would have been fine. But here's what I don't know. And you probably need to get somebody that really understands the all 22 or is really breaking it down. Is there's so many plays where the Eagles drop Hurts back and he gives up on the play. It's like a rollout that ends up in a 1 yard run or he throws it away to the sideline. And what I don't know, I'm not educated enough to know is what is there on those plays or not there. Is Hurts missing stuff on these go nowhere plays? Is it offensive coordinator? Is it receivers not getting open? Are they not blocking it up right? Is it not schemed right? But he's certainly not making play. He's not making chicken salad out of chicken, you know what. He's not really ever doing that, right? It's like he's not doing anything special. It's almost like, well, I'm going to drop back. If my guy's open, I'll throw it to him. If he's not, I'll throw it away. And I was like, okay, well, now it's 2nd and 10. And it's like, it just, there's so much of that. They led the league in 3 and outs. And, so it's hard to piece together what percentage of the blame pie goes to the quarterback in that situation. But I'm a little uncomfortable saying that Jalen Hurts is an elite quarterback or even a great
I,
quarterback.
I don't think
You
he's
know?
top five in the league right now, but I think he's very, very good quarterback. He'd be a franchise quarterback on most teams.
I don't
And
know that. I'm not sure about that, because I don't I need to see more before yeah, like I said, I see both things. I see his success at last year and then I see the struggles this year and it's a little confusing to figure out exactly who he is or what he is. And also why is he not making more plays with his feet right now? They're like there's never it's 3rd and 6 and Hurts gets away and scrambles for the it's more like he threw it away again. It's just kind of like, okay, all right. Just the Eagles' offense is so boring.
yeah,
But we don't have to worry about it anymore this year. We don't have
that's
to talk
right.
about the Eagles until next year. Cry, Eagles, cry.
Oh boy. Okay, I'll send everybody. If you don't email me, I'll send you Ed's email.
Please do. I'm happy. I've got all
To-
kinds of memes I can share about the Eagles. Yeah, I've been eating it up this week. Um, Again, there's that bitterness for you. So moving on to the Sunday night game. This is where I'm going to get a big zero. Wow. You're going to get it correctly. Neither of us really seem to have the flow of this game pegged right, but you had the winner right. You had the Patriots winning. I had the Chargers playing an upset. I wasn't close. I had Herbert outplaying May. That didn't happen. You had May with 4 TDs, and that didn't happen. So you're going to wind up with a point for that. I'm going to get a zero. And I don't have a whole lot to say about this game other than I'm going to be hard on another quarterback here. Um, I thought Collinsworth did a nice job fairly early in the game saying, hey, look, Herbert doesn't have a lot of help out here, but he actually hasn't been under duress that much. Now, about midway through the third quarter, the floodgates opened and it was ridiculous. He had no, it was a, he was under siege every snap. But there were times early in that game where he did have time and they were doing nothing. He was terrible in the game. He was not good. It is concerning now that this is his third playoff run. He's 0-3, and last year he threw 4 interceptions. This year he does nothing and gets demolished. And then in his first game, he had the good first half against the Jags, and they gave up the 30-point lead. It's worrisome. You're not moving on from him or anything like that, but it's also like, dude, that was a playoff game, and that's what you gave us.
Yeah, it was a little bit disappointing that the Chargers only scored 3 points. I think it was evident right after, was it within 24 hours, the offensive coordinator got canned. So
Sure.
probably deservedly so, because he got fired by the other Harbaugh too. So it's
Yeah.
for much the same reason in a playoff game of underperforming with a potent offense. But I think it tells you that maybe the Patriots defense is improving and a little bit better than most people give them credit for, because they played a pretty solid game. And I think they played like their coach did. They played like Vrabel. That's they emulated his play. And I thought that was a pretty good game. And yeah, May didn't have the big game that I thought he did, but I thought he played respectably. He was under a little bit of pressure himself and played pretty solid for being the first time in a high pressure situation, in a playoff game like that. I thought he did all right. He can
I
only
thought
get
May played
better.
well in the second half. And the other thing that I thought he did pretty well was that they flipped while they weren't scoring, they were flipping the field a lot. There was a couple times where they were backed up in their own end zone, and they may not have scored on the drive, but they got out to like the 50, and then they punted and pinned the Chargers back.
And they weren't going for it on 4th and 5. They're
Right,
punting the
exactly.
ball.
They were playing smart football.
Right.
So they were just kind of playing to the tone of the game and the context of the game very well. And I thought May was fine. He made a couple of dumb mistakes, but that's fine. They overcame them. And I hate to say this because I don't want to scare everybody, including myself a little bit, but this Patriots team reminds me of the 2001 Patriots, the first Patriots team, when nobody really knew who they were. We didn't know at the time. There was this out of nowhere quarterback that nobody heard that was filling in for Drew Bledsoe. We didn't really know anything about the Patriots other than that. God, they keep winning. And oh my gosh, the Patriots are in the divisional round of the playoffs. It's like, well, okay, I guess we got to take them seriously. And it kind of reminds me of similar to that sort of like, I wonder if this is going to be the first Patriots team again. 10 years from now, we'll be like, oh, yeah, the 2025 Patriots. Remember, they weren't quite as known, and now everybody knows them and everybody hates them, just like the Brady teams. I mean, it's a long way to go before we get there, but I see some similarities.
Yeah, there's some similarities there. I don't know if they're going to go on a 20-year dynasty run like those 2001 Patriots did, but they got a solid quarterback and a good coach and some great players. So
Yeah,
there's a
that's
young
how the, that's how
nucleus.
the that's how those dynasties started. Those first few teams weren't dominant. They were kind of tough and gritty and kind of got the job done late in the game, kind of surprised people. And then, whatever it was, 4 or 5 years into their run, that's when they started, okay, they're 13-3 every year. They're scoring 50 points. Now everybody knows they're a juggernaut. But it was a little bit of a slow build for the Patriots. And gosh, we might be seeing it again.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know if they're going to have not having the evil genius there to play the games he did in the draft of always trading back and getting extra draft capital and you know I don't know that they're going to be that brave. So things will probably catch up with them, drawing late 20s in the draft this year, and if they do it a couple years in a row, that can hurt you pretty good too. Just look what it did to the Chiefs.
right, sure. Well, do you want to just be done? Do you want
I
do you
thought
want to
that was the
talk?
end of the playoffs. Was there any other games?
Well, I told you I didn't really like that they played Monday playoff games.
Yeah,
But I guess we'll talk about it, Darren.
yeah, I have
I'm
to.
going to get two for this. It was the only game that either of us got both parts right. I said the Texans were going to win, and I said they were going to hold the Steelers to 17 or less. You said the Steelers would win, and that Boswell would kick them to victory. And I'll let as our Steelers fan here, I'll let you kind of take the mic. But my quick observation, I think if I'm a Steelers fan, the most glaring thing and the most frustrating thing and the most deflating thing is I'm not kidding when I say this, Darren. I would have graded CJ Stroud in that game as an F, an actual F, meaning the winning quarterback was an F, and they won the game by 24 points. That's how crazy of a poor effort it was for the Steelers offense, is that the opposing quarterback was horrendous. CJ Stroud was terrible in that game, just terrible. I don't know what he was doing. He fumbled 5 times. Now they didn't lose them all, but he fumbled 5 times, threw a terrible interception, was missing guys all over the place, and they still walk away with a 24-point win.
Yeah, I mean, I think the 24-point differential is a little bit
It was misleading.
exacerbated. Because some of it was the garbage time, the pick six at the end. I think the game was over. You
That's
know,
fair.
and I don't think the effort was put in for the Steelers offensive players to tackle them. Okay, but I think that the defensive lines of both teams dominated the offensive lines of both teams. It was extremely disappointing of for as a Steelers fan thinking, hey, we got this young group of players and these two tackles that are young that are playing. One guy's four string when he started the year, but he's playing pretty solid. But our number one pick from last year is whiffed on a play. I don't know how the hell he whiffed as bad as he did. Didn't touch a guy. I think any of you or I could at least got a hand on a guy so he didn't go at Rogers like that. Rogers, I kind of felt bad for because he had no time at all for him. And I hate to say it, but here's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Might be his last play, might be a pick six, and
He's got to walk. I'm sorry.
he
It's
will now.
Yeah,
With the coaching leave.
if he wanted to do the Flacco thing and be a backup somewhere, he could do that. He's capable of that role, but I don't think that's what he wants. And there's just no team in the NFL that should turn their keys over to. I don't see any team in the league that's like, boy, if they just had a competent quarterback, they would win the Super Bowl next year. There's nobody really in that situation. So what's he going to do? Is he going to go play quarterback for the Browns, or you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
well, like what's next? He can't be in Pittsburgh anymore. I felt bad for him. He was under siege in that game, and there really wasn't much there. But he also can't move at all. So one way and we'll talk about it when we talk about our matchups this week. One way to maybe hurt a defense like Houston is to, the quarterback scrambling around a little bit, extending plays, running for first down. He just can't move.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. He's too old to move around like he used to. That, of course, that ACL injury he had 2 years ago, I think just sort of just took away any mobility that he had. And I don't even know if a mobile quarterback was going to escape that because that was just an onslaught. Like I said, I think both defensive lines and edge rushers had great games on both sides. The Texans they're just beasts. I mean, they're strong up the middle, they're strong on the edges, and it's a tough task for line. But I don't think my team had a very good effort against these guys. I think they were intimidated, and it showed. And
Yeah, that was just it was a mismatch. The Steelers, like I said, the Steelers defense really kept them in and hung tough. Stroud was orbiting another planet, doing whatever he was doing to help keep the Steelers in the game too. And
Well,
then
it was 7-6 at the end of the third
yeah,
quarter. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah.
they
It
were
was still,
there.
it was absolutely, it was there. It was there. I mean, the Steelers were one play away from taking like a 7 point lead early in the fourth quarter. But that just wasn't going to happen. That Texans defense wasn't going to allow it. I don't think the Steelers were capable of it. And when you look at it, it's just like, and to
They
be
had their
honest,
shots.
there,
They had their shots in the first half. I mean, Metcalf dropping that pass was like it been like at least a 25-yard gain down the right sideline. Maybe he even scores on that because he's far enough ahead and maybe can beat the safety to the end zone. You know, there's things like that, very reminiscent of what AJ Brown did. Dropping a similar pass in a crucial moment, and that could have been a game changer. But you know, CJ Stroud, like you said, he was not handling snaps well. Actually, I think the first fumble recovery, the one where YA Black that might have been an interception. I'm
yeah,
not so sure that wasn't a tuck rule play there, but either way, it was a Steelers ball. So, but
yeah.
yeah, that
All year long, it's very hard to play offense and to win in the NFL if your margins are that tight on offense, but like the Steelers were all year. The Steelers had some good games this year. They had some days where the offense seemed to work pretty well and kind of got the job done. But at no point where you're like, whoa, this Steelers offense is humming. You know what I mean? There was none of that ever. It was always like, oh, you know what? They had a good drive there, or Rogers made a nice play, or that's a good throw, or DK got open. It was such a struggle, and there were so many times throughout and that's where you're like, you know what, this just is just not sustainable with the 42-year-old quarterback, right? Like because what's next? He's just gonna be a year older. So it Tomlin, and you can speak about him. I think he gave your franchise a great gift at the end here. I really do. Because I think it was time. And my guess is that Rooney wanted this to happen if you hooked him up to truth serum or the lie detector test, but he wasn't going to fire him. And maybe like in his heart, he didn't really want him to leave, but kind of knew that maybe he should. So by Tomlin walking, he takes the pressure off the owners to make the hard decision. He saves them the money that they would have had to pay him, fire him. And I believe, right, they retain his rights. So I believe next year, if he does decide to coach, which at some point he's going to coach again, somebody has to negotiate with the Roonies to get him. So I feel like Tomlin did a very classy thing in a lot of ways, and like he made the tough decision for the organization.
well, I don't think the Rooney's. I mean, this is unbelievable that most fans don't understand. But I'm 59 years old, and I only know of three coaches for my franchise. I
Haven't
mean,
fired one since '68, right?
I yeah, I
Yeah,
was, yeah, they have not fired one.
right.
Mole left when he wanted to. Cower left on his own. Tomlin left on his own. I don't think Rooney's were going to fire him because you have three guys that they hired as guys that were in their mid 30s, defensive backgrounds, and they all stayed for more than a decade and a half, and all won a Super Bowl. And all went to multiple Super Bowls, took their teams to multiple Super Bowls. So and it's not like, I mean, the teams weren't playing bad. People in Pittsburgh yelling the fire Tomlin thing, I thought that was ridiculous. Uh, there's, I mean, the guy hasn't had a losing season in 19 seasons. I mean, this is an unbelievable stat. He only, in 19 seasons, he only had two games where there weren't a playoff implication involved.
It's
I mean,
wild.
think about that for a second.
Right.
I mean, either you have a really crappy season and you have games that don't mean anything, or I guess on the other end, you didn't dominate your division where you can just rest players into it. Only two of them, it didn't matter. Think about
Yeah,
how many games that is.
it's crazy. And I don't think the Roonies were going to fire him either, Darren. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that they probably should have, meaning it was just time to go. It was sometimes this happens, right? It's nobody's fault. It doesn't mean it. It's just time. It's gotten stale. It's time for a change for all parties. And it's almost like Tomlin was the mature one and saw it and was like, you know what, guys, you're not going to have to do this. You don't. You can retain the never fired a coach badge because let's be honest, Darren. Art, right? The he should have probably fired Noel. I mean, he may have held on a decade too long. You know, like they were not good
But
all throughout the
but that
80s.
was in an era where you did keep a coach and gave
Right.
them
Right.
longevity
And so
if they
like
earned it.
I
I mean,
feel
look
like
at Shula,
Tomlin
Landry, Noel. They were there for, you know, damn near 2 decades, all of them. I mean, Landry 29 years, you know.
Tomlin's
It's
probably tired. I'm sure he's recognized it this year and the last couple of years and the playoff failures and the poor quarterback play probably took a toll on him. It was just time. It was just time. He'll be back somewhere, and this gives the Steelers a chance to start over. And we'll see if the next guy can last the rest of your life, maybe.
it's actually genius by Rooney. If I mean, because if you look at Denver last year, had to give New Orleans, or 2 years ago, had to give New Orleans a first and a second round pick to have the rights for Sean Payton. And
Yep.
maybe it paid off for them. They have a pretty good team right now. Do you think that Mike Tomlin would maybe even get more? They'd get more from Mike Tomlin,
I
never
don't
having a
know. It's
losing
possible.
season, being
Uh,
in two Super Bowls, and
yeah,
Peyton
it's
was only in
possible.
one Super Bowl.
Yeah,
So they might get two number one picks for this 2 years from now.
yeah, I
And
wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, it also depends on what the market's going to be. You know, this year they probably wouldn't with the 10 openings.
no,
But
and with the
maybe next year it'll be
Harbaugh
different.
and with
Yeah,
Harbaugh out there and
right,
Stefanski and the guy from Miami and the Cowboys former coach. There's a lot of former coaches out there that won Super Bowls out there,
right.
right now. And yeah, probably wouldn't, but I don't think Tomlin wants to coach this coming year because I knew there was rumors he was talking to some networks about being television analyst.
Sometimes you need a break.
And
19 years doing the same thing. I also read that, you know, he started his coaching career the year after he left college in 95 and has coached every year since. That's a long time. So, you
it,
know, that's, you know, a
but
break.
but to put it in perspective, Tomlin started coaching before the original iPhone was released.
That's wild.
So
That's wild. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. The next Steelers coach has got a lot to live up
yeah, yeah, it definitely does. Some big
to.
shoes,
Yep.
but hopefully they'll stay true, and it'll be if they stay true, it'll be someone in their mid-30s that was a coordinator that sort of comes out of nowhere and has a defensive background. And
Yeah. That would be
that's the formula. And
hey,
I'd stick with it till it doesn't work,
it's worked for 60 years.
Right.
So so yeah, that gives to total it was a fun wild card weekend. The games got a little bit worse as it went along. But that we both wound up with 5 points. I caught you there at the end, which retains your 1 point lead on the season. It's now 90 to 89 as we enter the divisional round.
Ooh, okay, still tight. Still
Yep,
tight.
very tight.
All right. All right. Well, I believe is it your pick this week
We'll
or
start.
okay. Yeah, go ahead and start.
So we're just going to go in order. And what we're going to do this week is we're going to pick a winner and two bold predictions for each game. So a total of three for each game. So another total of a potential total for 12.
Okay.
So one for each. You got to get the bold part exactly right.
All right.
So we're going to start in Denver. The game's basically a pick 'em. It feels like a pick 'em. It's the second week in a row. I think you are choosing between the better team or the better quarterback. Josh Allen is objectively better than Bo Nix. It's not close. You can't even argue any other way, no doubt. And I also don't think you can argue that the Broncos are not the better. The Broncos are absolutely a better team than the Bills. Their defense is better. They're probably more balanced overall. They're at home. Broncos are better than Buffalo. Allen is better than Nix. Weigh it. Which one do you think, which way it's going to go? I'm sort of tossing the coin. I'm going to go with Superman again. I'm going to say that Josh Allen leads them to another victory. The Bills win. That this time, my two bold predictions are that Allen accounts for 3 touchdowns against a good defense, a really good defense, and that Bo Nix makes a critical error sometime in the second half of that game that helps swing the game in Buffalo's favor, whether that's a fumble, an interception, a wide open miss somewhere. Nix is going to have some second year quarterback jitters issues. Allen's going to put some pressure on him, and Nix is going to make a big error.
All right, interesting, interesting. I'm going to agree with you. I think the Bills are going to win this game for the first part of that, but it's going to be a close game. Josh Allen is going to have some fourth quarter heroics again, like he always does. That's not part of my bold prediction. My bold predictions are James Cook's going to have 3 explosive runs, so 3 runs of plus 20 in the game, and I'm going to go on the other side. I'm going to say that Denver is going to end up having 3 successful field goals in the game for count for their point total.
Denver 3 field goals. Okay.
And they
Yeah.
may regret it because maybe they're going to wish they would have went for it on a fourth down or something to get the extra 4 points. I think that's going to be that close of a game.
Okay. Of the 4 games, that's the one I'm looking forward to the most as well.
I think
Also,
so.
this is something where the NFL needs to do better. That game should be Sunday, and the Rams Bears game should be Saturday. I realize they work these things out for networks, but the Rams and the Bears both played on Saturday last week. Now they're both playing on Sunday. The Broncos have had 2 weeks off. The Bills played on Sunday. Now they're playing on Saturday. So you're unnecessarily giving the Bills a short week when you easily could have just done Rams Bears and avoided that.
It would have been worse if they would have had the Texans play on Saturday.
Right. And that's part of the thing. The Monday team can't play. The Monday winner has to play Sunday. That is like a rule they have. So that by having the Monday game, that makes things a little more difficult. This is which goes back to my thing last week. They should do triple header Saturday, triple header Sunday. They don't often listen to me though, Darren.
I think they should go back to the old days and play everything on Sunday. That's what
Oh
they used
no,
to do.
yeah, no, I don't want overlapping. I don't want overlapping. I don't want to have to balance 2 games at once.
Oh,
I,
yeah, I do.
well, no, but my whole life they've never done that for the last 40 years. They've always done Saturday,
I
Sunday.
think in the 70s, I don't remember
Maybe the
Saturday game.
70s. Maybe the 70s. Yes,
70s,
I'm
you
not that
played.
old, Darren. I was
I think
born in the 70s.
of course, you didn't have wild card teams back then. You had
Right, right, right. Yeah, no, I don't want playoff games overlapping, but I also don't want them on Monday. So we'll move on to the next game. This one is hard for me. I'm going to pick the Seahawks to beat the Niners, and I'm going to pick them to win the game by 10 or more points. And I'm also going to say that Sam Darnold does not throw an interception in the game. I'm going to
okay.
put a little caveat on this one, though. I feel like it's a little shaky because I really, really love Kyle Shanahan and what they're doing there. And it wouldn't shock me if they can dial something up. But they are beat up. We saw these two teams play just 2 weeks ago. The San Francisco offense had no answers for Seattle, and I'm not sure what they're going to figure out in 2 weeks going on the road now without Kittle, who was available in the first game. I just think it's going to be one of those games that maybe stays pretty close. The 49ers scratch and claw to stay in it, and they just can't.
I don't think it's going to be a close game at the end. I mean, I think
Okay.
your 10-point thing is probably pretty accurate. I also have Seattle winning. Um, People were saying, well, San Francisco did good. Kittle got hurt early in a game. They did good against the Eagles, who have a good defense. Well, true, but here's the importance of Kittle in this Seattle game against Seattle this year. He has 14 receptions, 3 touchdowns in those 2 games against Seattle. That's 21 points, really that he accounts for in there. Can they make that up? Maybe a little bit of it. but it's not like they have their full receiver staff either. You know, who knows if Purcell's going to play or what condition he's going to be if he does play. Um, you know, they've had guys that haven't played all year long at the wide receivers they were counting on. Can McCaffrey, do everything all game long again? He's playing a very aggressive defense that's tough all the way around. Maybe even a little bit better than Philadelphia, and Seattle also has a very good offense that usually doesn't stumble too much, that can put pressure on you where you have to go and score. I think that's a little bit too much to overcome. I think my bold predictions on this, the two are, I think Purdy's going to get picked off twice in this game because he's going to have to push the ball. And I think Seattle's going to hold the lead the entire second half. It won't even be close in the second half.
Seattle leads. Okay, got you. So we're pretty much aligned so far. Going on to the early Sunday game, Stroud has he's rattled me because I think my initial gut was actually to maybe pull an upset here behind the strength of that Texans defense. But after seeing what I saw Monday night and thinking that Nico Collins very well could be out, that looked like a real concussion, and that's a short week. So I'd be a little surprised if he plays, which is big. I'm going with the Patriots, and I'm going to say that unlike Aaron Rodgers, Drake May is going to find some success against the Houston defense with his legs to keep create some yards, scrambling, running, and I'm going to say he goes for 40 or more rushing yards in the game.
Mhm.
That is important. And I'm going to say that Houston scores two or fewer touchdowns in the game.
Interesting. Well, here's where it starts to get interesting because I do not agree with you in this. I think CJ Stroud is going to bounce back in this game. I think the Texans defense is just too nasty. I think Nico Collins is going to get out of protocol and he is going to play and have an impact. So Texans are going to beat the Pats. My two other predictions are I think Houston is going to score a safety in this game. Their defense is so good, and I think they're going to force three turnovers of the Patriots.
Okay, so you think their defense keeps on rolling and just keeps steam. Well, I mean, they've been great all year.
And I'm not saying
Um,
this. I think Stroud and the offense are going to do some things too, but
gotcha.
we know the Patriots have a good defense, so it's not going
Yeah,
to
that
be
just rattled me a
high
little bit.
flying.
I was really high on the Texans coming into the playoffs, and I'm lower on them than I was, even after the win. So I'm not seeing it. So our final game, we're gonna go Rams Bears, and we'll just keep it going. We'll just let me just keep let me just keep this Bears train rolling. They just keep winning. I'll keep being wrong, and Chicago can celebrate every time I make a pick because I'm picking the Rams again. And I'm not saying a blowout. I don't think that's happening, but I'm going to say a somewhat comfortable Rams win. Uh, I think Stafford goes for 300 plus yards
Mm.
and that the Bears defense sacks uh, Caleb three or more
The Rams
times.
defense, you're saying?
I'm sorry, the Rams defense sacks Caleb three or more times. That Bears secondary is a little shaky. That's a little bit of they're pretty good up front and they've gotten better, but that secondary's got some holes sometimes and they give up some big plays. And like again, that drive that they had to have when they were down by three, they actually really weren't stopping the Packers. The Packers converted some huge pass plays until they decided to throw Hail Marys for some reason. So I'm going to say Stafford takes advantage of that. I am a little wary of the weather. If it doesn't look like they're really calling for snow, but it sounds like maybe some brutal cold, and we kind of know what that sometimes does to quarterbacks and passing games. I'm a little wary of that. Although Stafford was excellent in the snow in Philly last year, but so that's my predictions. The Rams win, Stafford 300 or more, and three sacks from the Rams defense.
All right. Well, I'm going to agree with you again here. I think the Rams. I think the Rams are the best team in the NFL this year. I think they're the most consistent. They're solid on both sides of the lines. They have good kicking game. They're well coached. I think they're going to beat the Bears. My two predictions are Kyron Williams is going to go over 100 yards and Puka over 100 yards, each of them total offense. So
Got
I
it.
think
I like
Puka's going to run the ball, and I think Williams is going to catch the ball a few times.
Pook is awesome, man. He's I think he's the best receiver in the NFL right now. And yeah, and that's it's also a nod for me to McVay. Uh, they escaped last week. They got away with one, and I think they're going to be really well prepared. I think they're going to have some answers on both sides of the ball, and it's going to be one of those the better team wins the game. I don't think it's going to be a whitewashing or a massacre or anything like that, but I think it'll be sort of a solid win, and it'll set up. We're both predicting a Rams Seahawks round three is what we're predicting for the NFC Championship, and I'm predicting a Bills Patriots AFC East uh, AFC Championship game, and you're saying Buffalo. Or I'm sorry, you're sending Buffalo to Houston.
Hmm.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Should be fun. Well, I think the NFL world should be rooting for Josh Allen and the Bills. I don't necessarily think we want a Broncos Patriots or Broncos Texans AFC Championship game. The Bills and Allen would be so much more intriguing and interesting and fun. Sorry, Denver.
Yeah, I think that the NFL would love to have the Texans in there so they have a different team in the mix. It's not the Bills, it's not the Broncos, it's not the Patriots, all the time. It's the Rams recently won. I think that would be probably the best thing for the NFL to have that
The NFL
happen.
wants the quarterback, Darren.
Yeah,
The NFL wants the quarterback. Trust
they
me.
they want one of the largest cities in the country to have a chance at championship, and which Houston definitely is. So
Yeah.
I think they want that too. They want market, they want money. So that's. But I don't think it's going to come down to that. I think the Texans are going to be a better team here and win that. But
Well, we'll see.
yeah,
We're pretty aligned.
yeah, most definitely. But we do have some differences, and those two extra picks will make it really interesting. And we also have a national championship coming up this week. That'll be our
Right.
Monday night game
That's
of
right.
having a national championship with the high flying Hoosiers coming out of nowhere and playing Miami, who has had a resurgence of
It,
their
it's
once greatness. So.
It's too long. I agree with a lot of the coaches that have complained about the schedule. I'm out of college football mode completely already. It's like, what?
Oh,
Oh, yeah. It's like I have to keep reminding myself. Oh, my gosh, that's right. The national championship game is Monday. I've stopped. It's like I stopped caring about college football on New Year's Day. So they need to change it. They've got a lot of coaches have spoken out about that, figuring out a way to maybe start the season earlier, maybe like in like August 20th, something like that, and then having this game played on New Year's Day. That's probably what needs to happen because this doesn't feel right at all to me that we're still talking about college football. It's out of
I'm
the
not
consciousness.
I'm not concerned about that because I kind of like it. I like it being this late and ending in the middle of January, which it has for probably the last 20 years. It's we have national championship games played in mid-January, but
Well,
I think
it's the first time it's this late. It used to be like the 8th, ninth, 10th. Now we're at the 19th.
but
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. My problem is put the best 12 teams in the tournament. That's what they should do. I don't want to have these teams that are, you know, don't they're good teams, but they're not 12 best in the country playing. That's what I
See,
think. They need
I
to.
disagree with that. So we disagree with each other on that because to me, then those teams shouldn't be FBS. We should shrink the FBS down to like 50 teams and start a new division. Because if you can go undefeated or win your conference and not get a chance at the playoff, then what's the point?
Well,
You need
because
to be in a different
they're
division.
non-conference games, they could schedule somebody that is a competent team instead of a
Well, they don't, but they
Division One
won't.
double A team. That's my.
It's not the small schools that are reluctant to schedule the big schools. The big schools don't want to schedule James Madison. It's too big of a threat. So, Oregon doesn't want to play JMU in September because there's no benefit to Oregon there. If they win, they don't get a whole lot of credit for it, but JMU is kind of a dangerous team. So they're not, so that's the problem.
But that's where the NCAA can step in and say, or the college football gurus playoffs, hey, we expect you to have this thing. Do it on, I'm not saying use the Dunkel system, but use something like that where you have a power ranking, hey, these teams played teams that were competent that in the last 5 years have been in the top 10 or whatever, to do it. You don't have to have it just for that year, but have it so competent. JMU and Tulane, that's the two that went in 11,
Yes.
12. They didn't play anybody. and they
Right.
got in.
But then, like I said, then we should announce that before the year that this is like a different division. And if you play Tulane in the regular season, you don't get credit for it. If they
But
can't play in your playoff, then if you beat them, you don't get a win for it. It's just like a preseason game. That's what
but
it should.
but the thing was actually the ACC screwed this up. But the rule is to have the top five conference winners have to go in. That's what they're saying. So there wasn't five conference winners because the ACC had an 8-5 team play a
Right.
3-loss team for their championship when Miami is sitting at home and not in a conference championship, which is unbelievable to me. It's ridiculous. I guess they're trying to fix that. Unbelievable. So if Miami's in there, then you do have a Notre Dame or a Texas or somebody that deserves to be in there more so than a JMU or a Tulane. One of those
I
teams is out.
To me, it's just like the NCAA tournament. That's the beauty of it is that we get representation from across the country. Everybody knows that the 16 seed isn't as good as the 12th place team in the Big 12,
Right.
but you win your little tiny conference, you get a shot at the big boy, and that's kind of the way it's set up. And I like that college football's introduced that. Um, just be better if you're one of the Power Five schools. Just you have to win your conference, just like the little school did. That's kind of how I look at it. But anyway, that's a whole nother podcast, Darren. I think we've
Right.
set a record with length on this one already.
Okay. All right, Ed. Well, we will see what happens this week and with our predictions, and we'll talk about it next week and make our picks for the championship games coming up. So look forward to that, and look forward to talking to you next week.
Thanks for having me, Darren.
That's all the football history we have today, folks. Join us back tomorrow for more of your football history. We invite you to check out our website, pigskindispatch.com, not only to see the daily football history, but to experience positive football with our many articles on the good people of the game, as well as our own football comic strip, Cleat Marks Comics. Pigskindispatch.com is also on social media outlets, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and don't forget the Pigskin Dispatch YouTube channel to get all of your positive football news and history. Special thanks to the talents of Mike and Gene Monroe, as well as Jason Neff for letting us use their music during our podcast.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.